Coming up shortly, an extended debate on the pros and cons of e-tolling after today's massive protest march. I'm Nikki Webegita. Good evening.
Very warm welcome from Jeremy Maggs. A little later we'll also report on the big Apple iPad announcement and details for you on the arrest of radio disc jockey Gareth Cliff. It's 8 o'clock. This is Newsnight.
COSATU has fired its first warning shot in its campaign against the e-toll system. General Secretary Zwelinzima Vavi says they will not stop until e-tolls are scrapped and labour broking is completely banned. The Trade Union Federation is patting itself on the back tonight after a massive turnout in 32 separate national protests.
Steaks on the sizzle and drinks chilled from early morning. Vendors well prepared for the hungry masses. In Johannesburg, an estimated 50,000 people uniting behind the fight against two contentious issues.
I want to abolish labor broke. They are using our sisters and brothers.
Already we are spending too much money on petrol. So now with the e-tolls it's going to be, quite too expensive for us.
It seems some of the issues are even being felt by young kids.
My mom is spending too much money for the e-tolls. I was just asking if they can just remove them because it's even taking my lunch money.
Young, old, black and white. It was a collection of people who want government to listen. The strong numbers show the serious opposition to the e-toll system and labour brokers. But the disputes over these issues have been loud and clear for months. So after all this noise, the question is whether government will now take them seriously. And if it doesn't listen, COSATU has this warning.
We have come here to fire the first warning shot. If they insist that we must pay for the public roads, the warning from us, we say to you, just as we made the apartheid system unworkable, we will make this system unworkable as well.
After the address, a revved-up Vavi claimed more than 200,000 people showed up. But police put the national figure at around 80,000. Durban protesters were mainly demanding an end to labour brokers, as was the case with those toy-toying in Cape Town, PE and Bloemfontein. It seems COSATU's idea to march against two pressing issues was a successful one. Shahan Ramkisoon, E-News, Johannesburg.
Well, in just a moment we'll debate the pros and cons of e-tolling, and while pressure is mounting on government to call off the e-tolls, one economist tonight is giving them the thumbs up. He says you've just got to look at the bigger picture.
We are urging people not to buy those e-tags.
I think it's crap.
It's ridiculous. There's no need for the toll system.
We will be encouraging motorists to drive through the tolls without paying.
I think it is something that they never sat down to think about clearly.
Not really happy about it.
I think it's very expensive.
Against this avalanche of public disdain, have the real benefits of the e-tolling system been lost in translation? Has the public for 1 second considered that it might be a good idea? Or at least, that's one school of thought.
94% of the toll fees will be paid by people in the top 20% income category. So what is COSATU doing in this debate?
Dr. Roelof Botha, a professor at the Gordon Institute of Business Science, has done an independent study into the benefits of using the Gauteng Freeway Improvement Project. He believes cancelling the system altogether would impede future major infrastructure projects in the country, as government does not have the funds to maintain our roads without the help of ordinary taxpayers. Botha's research seems to be in line with the latest IBM Commuter Pain Index, which surveys traffic congestion around the world, from Mexico City to Beijing and even Johannesburg. It's proven that traffic congestion could lower a city's productivity by as much as 20%.
But there are a host of other benefits, like more fuel efficiency on your car, because you don't have to slow down, lower maintenance cost on your vehicle as well. And then a study by UJ has indicated that on a social level, there are profound benefits in terms of being able to spend more time with your families.
In terms of travel time, there's already been an improvement on our roads since the project first started.
It used to take me anything between 1 hour and 3 hours to travel from Pretoria to OR Tambo to catch a flight. Now it takes me 27 minutes. And I calculated that that trip would cost me on average, the return trip, about 20 Rand. If I travel to Polokwane and back, I have to stop 8 times. I have to pay 222 Rands worth of tolls, but nobody's going to strike because of that. But I realize that this debate is just so emotional.
South Africans would make the argument that they're already paying value-added tax as well as other taxes. Why pay more money?
It's never pleasant to pay a little bit more. People will just go to the trouble of calculating what the value of their time is and the time that they will save as a result of significantly less congestion, less stress, less inhaling of toxic fumes. Then they will appreciate the fact that not in absolute terms and not in relative terms is this in fact very expensive.
Jody Jacobs, E-News, Johannesburg.
Well, you've seen the pictures and you have heard some of the arguments. Let's talk about it now. Joining me here on Newsnight to debate the pros and cons of e-tolling is the COSATU General Secretary, Zwelin Zimbabwe. He's been busy in central Johannesburg today. Nazir Ali, he's the Chief Executive Officer of the roads agency SANRAL. Everyone seems to hate them at the moment. And from the Democratic Alliance, the Gauteng caucus leader, Jack Bloom. To all of you, welcome and thank you very much for joining us. Gentlemen, I'm going to start off. There's a lot of ground to cover, but I'm going to give you each 30 seconds or so just to state your general position. So, Zwelin Zimbabwe, e-tolling, is it necessary or not?
Not at all. It's a disaster for any developing country that doesn't have a public transport system yet, to start with what people would have seen working somewhere in the first world where the unemployment rate is nothing compared to what we have in the country. So our starting point is that this is a bad idea.
Jack Bloom, is it a disaster, as Mr. Vavi suggests?
Absolutely. It's going to affect everybody. It's going to push up the price of everything. And as far as motorists are concerned, it's one tax too many. Motorists are really overtaxed. And I think we paid for these roads over and over again. And now we have tolls on top of everything.
So, Mr. Ali, at this point, to your opening remarks, so you've listened to what they had to say. You can reply. You can go home if you want to.
Thanks, Jeremy. Firstly, I'd like to believe that nobody hates us. Maybe they dislike us a little bit, but nobody hates us. I think the debate around tolling is a bit misdirected in that, and people are getting unnecessarily emotional about the thing. Simply because the question we should be asking ourselves, what do we do if we don't have this infrastructure in place, and how do we fund the infrastructure? South Africa is a road network of 606,000 kilometers, currently based on 37% of the information we have for 37% of the network. There's a backlog of 149 billion Rand. So how do we do that? Secondly, we're talking about being a developmental state. We need to create jobs, and that's exactly what we've done. We've created 1,200 permanent, our friends, 1,200 permanent jobs. 1,200. The permanent jobs that we created for people who've never had a job before. I would politely ask these two gentlemen, esteemed gentlemen with me today on this panel, to come with me tomorrow morning and say to those 1,200 people that we've employed, you are now retrenched.
Right. Gentlemen, I'm presuming as far as COSATU and the Democratic Alliance is concerned, there is concordance here that we need to upgrade the freeway system in South Africa, as Mr. Ali has suggested. He's talking about creating 1,200 jobs. He also says that there's got to be a way of funding it. Aside from e-tolling, Zwelin Zimbabwe, how do you suggest that it's done?
The reason why we're paying taxes, the reason why we go into elections campaign and elect the best party that can help create a public transport system is so that we can have good roads that are well maintained by that government. That's the basic reasons why we have political parties campaigning against one another at elections time. And in this particular instance, the ruling party have made an absolute commitment that it wants to introduce a public transport system that is affordable, accessible, and efficient. It goes with the responsibility of building and maintaining roads. This thing that says, oh, because you want good roads, you must be prepared to pay extra, is absolutely hogwash.
Jack Bloom?
Well, I think that the 1,200 jobs that have been created have been the expense of far more jobs that have been destroyed, that will be destroyed because of these tolls.
Explain to me where they've been destroyed.
Well, because it's high expenses, businesses are going to relocate. I mean, Gauteng is actually going to be hit very hard. Business is going to lay off workers because of extra costs. So I think there are a lot of jobs.
That's speculation, Jack Bloom. You don't know that, do you? Hang on a minute. You don't know that.
No, business organisations have said so. You know that there's a coalition of business organisations that are against this for various reasons. One of the reasons is that they'll have to lay off workers.
How many workers are going to be laid off? Have you done your research?
Well, far more than 1,200 actually. But there's another basic objection: is the toll collection cost. This is an unbelievably expensive toll collection cost, something like up to 50%. It's hard to get real figures, but I think if we're collecting 2 billion, you're spending 1 billion just collecting that 2 billion. Now that's insane. No business would run a model where it's 50% collection costs, and I think that's the real problem. Where if you have to collect tax, you do it through tax or the fuel
So to Mr.
levy.
Ali's point, very quickly, Jack Bloom, how should these freeways be funded?
Well, the obvious alternatives through the fuel levy or general taxation, but quite frankly, I think we need to see dedicated funds to roads because motorists really feel that their money is going nowhere. I'm going to give you one example. In the Gauteng provincial budget that's just been passed, 2 billion rand is paid by motorists in licence fees. That's double what it used to be. Now, where's that 2 billion rand going? Just that alone, on top of all the fuel levies and everything else that the poor motorist pays.
Nazir Ali, very quickly, because we need to go to a break in just a moment, but you've buckled under pressure once. Government bailed you out. You reduced the cost the cost to motorists. Is Sanral going to buckle again under pressure? You've seen the pressure today. Mr. Vavi claiming 200,000. Conservative estimates say 80,000 around the country. People, Nazir Ali, are very angry, and they're angry with Sanral.
Jeremy, look, it is most unfortunate that none of these gentlemen over here have produced any studies to show us for this. It's merely speculation, as you rightly have pointed out over there. Now, Mr. Bloom, it's unfortunate, right? He's been to our offices, him and his colleague, where we've showed them all of these things. The cost of the collection is not 50 cents. We've made it very clear to them, and we made it clear to the publicly as well, that it is 15 cents in the rand. 15 cents. Of course, we know that the cost of collection will go up with the violators if people don't pay. And that is why you'll see that the way that we've structured the tariffs, that those who don't pay will have to pay the other admin costs, etc., and so forth, so that we make sure that the compliant user does not carry the cost of the non-compliant user of the violator over here.
Jack Bloom, are you getting your arithmetic wrong?
Well, I actually went to the SANRAL offices and I did a calculation. 11 billion rand over 8 years. That's what it's going to cost us, roughly. I'd like more information from SANRAL. We put in a Promotion of Access to Information Act, and SANRAL's not giving us the contract. So my rough estimate, and there's the Star newspaper says it's 14 billion rand over 8 years. I'm saying it's something like 11 billion rand. That's enormous just to collect tolls. We could save all that money by.
There's a big
not
difference between
collecting
50 cents and 15 cents, isn't there?
Jeremy, he's got it wrong.
Politely, hang on a minute, Mr. Vavi. Yes,
he's got it completely wrong. The Star made that accusation of the 14 billion rands. We had the editor of the Star and the journalist in our office, and we showed them all the costs. We've also given all of the costs of this to BUSA. We've given it to Parliament as well. 2 members of Mr. Bloom's party, they've got all of these things. And for him to turn around here today and say it's 11 billion rands, as the Star is reporting 14 billion rand, is a gross misrepresentation of the facts.
Can you show us the copy of the contract you have signed?
We'd be very happy to do that, sir, to you. We'd be very happy to do that to you.
Can you publish it by tomorrow morning?
No, we're quite happy to do it to you.
Can you put it?
We will meet with you.
No.
As I said,
can you put it in public? If you
Mr.
give it to
Vavi,
us, we
with
will
due
put it up.
respect, as I said, we had made it public, we've given to BUSA, and we've sent it to Parliament. It is there. It's not that we've hidden it away. There's a misinterpretation.
Is it available on your website?
No, because
why not?
No, Jeremy, it's simple. Because there is commercial information over there. As you know, that we can't just turn around and give people's commercial information away. We will have to get the permission as well. But we have shown it to the people
Mr. Ali,
that
if there's such anger about this, why don't you simply seek their permission and do it? And you will satisfy the likes of Mr. Vavi and Mr. Bloom.
Jeremy, we've invited Mr. Bloom before, as you said, he's been to our offices, right? And we will show it to him again. And we will do the same thing with Mr. Vavi.
You'll take up Nazir Ali on that.
I will, but I can tell you that we will not get it unless we will be disappointed tomorrow. We're not likely to be shown that contract. Secondly, let me just go back to the point. Let me just go back to the point of jobs. Just imagine somebody on national television telling the country that for the whole fuss, all the controversies and angers, we have created 1,200 jobs. At what price? Does he calculate the numbers of people that are going to go through and pay 30 cents for their motor vehicles for every kilometer travel? Has he calculated what will be the price of food as a result of the increases in the prices of e-tolling? Has he calculated the inconvenience of workers who are unemployed, who would like to go and look for employment opportunities?
Nazir Ali, I will let you reflect on that, and when we continue with this debate on Newsnight, we'll put that exact question to Nazir Ali from Sanral. Well, is e-tolling really necessary? The debate continues on this Wednesday edition of Newsnight. Zwelinzima Vavi is the General Secretary of COSATU, along with Jack Bloom. He leads the Democratic Alliance in Gauteng, and Nazir Ali is a Chief Executive Officer of SANRAL, that's the South African National Roads Agency. Just before we went to a commercial break, Mr. Ali, Zwelinzima Vavi asked you whether you've done your homework in terms of calculating the long-term impact costs, things like retrenchment, loss of business, inflation, etc., etc. Have you done that?
Jeremy, the simple answer to that is yes, because we've done a social and economic impact study. And if you saw the clip that you showed before the start of this program as well, with Dr. Rulofse, which actually showing that he's confirmed what we've done. Let us just talk about the cost of the goods in that, right? First of all, the tariff, as long as you get an e-tag discount, you will get a 48% discount for the e-tag. Secondly, the VAT that the hauliers in that pay is also redeemable because they don't pay the 14%. So that's a further 14% discount. And all the expenses that they incur on the movement of goods and that is a tax deductible expense. In the studies that we've done over there, and these are studies which have not been refuted by anyone, yes, there will be an impact on the cost of goods and that, but it is minimal. It will vary something between 0.2% to about 0.37%. That is what it will be.
Mr. Vavi, that sounds fairly reasonable to me.
No. I don't believe for a moment what Mr. Ali is saying. I think that honestly this may just be a case of somebody finding a very sympathetic research company to do a research that answers are already known by the person who is instructing the fellows to do the research. I don't believe that. Look, there has to be a devastating impact. One of the biggest of them is that there will be a social exclusion of those who don't have money to pay for the e-toll gates.
What studies have COSATU done on the impact studies?
Not our business.
How can you accuse him of erroneous figures when you haven't done your own study yourself?
We have not done any studies because
so your argument is based purely on emotion?
Absolutely, it's being done on the basis that the whole idea is being cooked, research being done by friendly companies behind the backs of our people, above their heads. We know nothing about this.
Who did your research, Mr. Ali?
University of Cape Town.
Okay, is that a friendly institution to e-tolling?
And the University of Johannesburg, which did the social impact study.
What is the impact in relation to unemployment crisis of people who want to use the roads to go and search for employment opportunities?
Okay, we need to
answer the question.
Simple. We need to look at it as what form of transport will those people use. Those people will be using public transport, and government, because government has been listening to the public, have exempted public transport from paying the tolls.
Mr. Vavi?
Let's go back to this thing that is a public transport exempted. The study conducted by the Department of Transport tells us that 30% of people who use their cars, their private cars, to go to work. 60% use taxis, and taxis are not a public transport. They are privately owned by the owners of the taxis. Only 10% of the South African population are using the trains and the buses. That's what you're referring to as in reality that's what you should be referring as a public transport system.
Jack Bloom, would you like to wade in very quickly?
That's basically the reality of South Africa today. There is no public transport system. People are forced into these taxis.
Mr. Vavi's got a point, hasn't he, Mr.
I absolutely agree with Mr.
private
Vavi.
cars.
There is no public transport as far as people, real alternatives. And, we have other economists, Mark Schuster, for instance, who has done serious studies about this thing. But the basic fact is that there are no public transport alternatives. In fact, it should have been put there ahead in the first place. And, this whole thing is very misinspired. And can I come back to the lack of consultation? We ended up having a consultation exercise 2 years after the contract was already signed.
Absolutely.
Why did we bother having a consultation exercise?
Nazir Ali, again, with respect, your marketing and your consultation on this issue has been appalling, and you've conceded that in the
I
past,
would
haven't you?
concede the issue around marketing. Mr. Bloom forgets that we presented this project in the legislature where him and his party are represented in 2006. It wasn't the first time, as if it came in February 2011, that suddenly, hey presto, here's a road and improvements been made, etc. 2006 was the first time that we went to the legislature, including the portfolio committee.
Mr. Bloom, were you absent
and
on
at the
that
national
day?
level.
We were not there.
Can I
must just say
explain? In
that.
fact, never were the costs actually presented and this amazing complex tolling system, And there was never a vote in the Gauteng provincial legislature. There was never a vote in the national parliament. This was purely a cabinet decision. That's how it happened. So, it was born without consultation. It was born in sin, actually, and I think it must go.
I must disagree with Mr. Bloom, because after having presented it to those places where I said, we also had the public participation process through two legislative requirements. One is the environmental impact assessment time, and also before we declared these roads as a toll road. There were two distinct sort of bites at the cherry that the people had in terms of being able to do that. And then, of course, the research work, which was done by the University of Johannesburg as well, they did quite a bit of public participation over there as well. And it is not true. Which of the projects are pronounced on by Parliament? Of course they get presented over there. His own colleagues in National Assembly will vouch for the fact that we used to go there, SANRAL to Portfolio Committee, present not only this project, but our future in terms of what we're going to do for the current financial year and the 3-year MTF program.
Mr. Ali, I want, again, unfortunately, we're running out of time on this particular discussion. It's gone very, very quickly. But I wonder, Jack Bloom and Nzima Vavi, if you're not wasting your time completely. Big turnout today, but Jimmy Manyi, who speaks for government, said, and I quote, "The decision is finished and clear." Doesn't matter how many people you bring out into the streets. You can bring 80,000, 200,000, 2 million people. The reality is this debate is gone. They're not going to change their mind.
Our starting point is that power never concedes anything without a struggle. So we're prepared to go all the way with Mr. Ali.
What does all the way mean?
All the way. We will not allow this system to be rammed down our throats by force, by anybody.
So what are you
no
going to
matter
do?
how powerful they think they are, we will stop it from being possible to be implemented.
Will you
And that's all.
barricade, will members of
we will
COSATU
do
barricade
everything
the
that is
freeways?
necessary that they do not operate the system.
Jack Bloom, what are you prepared to do?
Well, this is democracy, and the rule of law prevails, and it's legal to call for a boycott of the e-tags. It's a consumer boycott, which is what the DA is doing and continues to do. And as you know, it's been made public, there's a coalition of organizations that are going to court, and they're going to use the courts to probe the legality of this e-tolling system, and that's what you do in a democracy. So I actually firmly believe that these tolls will be stopped.
Okay, gentlemen, unfortunately, as I said, time is
Jeremy,
against us. I'm
quickly,
going to
I
give
hope
all
that
of you, and
happens when Chapman speak as well.
You can respond to that, Mr. Ali, and let me get some closing remarks from you. Very, very broadly, a lot of anger today, a lot of anger expressed by opponents of e-tolling tonight. Where is this debate heading?
It's very, very unfortunate that the people haven't produced any counter-genuine facts in terms of putting forward to us. We at SANRAL don't believe that we are powerful or anything of that sort. We're here to serve South Africa in the best interest of the economy of South Africa and job creation. That is what SANRAL does. SANRAL implements government policy. Sir, we do not make policy. It's government's policy, and we will implement whatever the government's policy. But at the same token, I'd ask Mr. Bloom, his problems in Chapman Speak, I don't see them calling for a boycott in Chapman Speak. I don't see that at all. And if he wants that problem to go away and save himself millions of rands instead of building those structures over there, link up with our e-toll system over here, and we'd have saved the public of South Africa a large amount of money where they have guaranteed the traffic on their Chapman speak.
Jack Bloom, very shortly, some closing remarks from you on this.
Well, it's a completely different issue, but look, the battle is not over. I think it's going to move to the courts. I think it's going to have creative opposition, as Mr. Vavi has said to us, and I think just see, the people will have their say eventually.
Mr. Vavi?
Mr. Ali says he's here to serve the public. I want to say no, he's here to milk the public. That's the reality of what the e-toll gates are going to do to the broader South African public, and we are determined to stop it.
And may I ask both COSATU and SANRAL, and the Democratic Alliance, I'm sure, is welcome to tag along tomorrow. You have committed as well, and Zima Vavi, on this program tonight, that COSATU can see those contracts that you were referring to
earlier. We will show it to them.
In front of a camera tomorrow. If we bring one, you're prepared to show
Jeremy,
Mr. Vavi.
I'm in PE tomorrow, and in Pietermaritzburg on Friday.
I told you.
When can we
you
do
will
this?
not get that.
Let him come Tuesday. Let him come Tuesday to our offices.
Mr. Vavi, is
Let
your
him come
calendar
on
clear
Tuesday
on
to the
Tuesday?
offices.
On Tuesday, I will create everything to come.
Tuesday,
but
sir.
you said in the morning, now you are in PE.
No, you said in the morning. You will commit me to the
we
morning.
will not
I
get it
answered.
And Mr. Bloom, I'm assuming the invitation extended to you. Gentlemen, our cameras will see you on Tuesday. Thank you very much indeed. Zwelenzima Vavi, Jack Bloom and Nazir Ali debating the controversial issue of e-tolling here on Newsnight.